And we're here, and we're live. Hello, everyone, to another exciting stream on the Son of Oak YouTube channel. As always, I am your master of ceremonies, Kevin Carpenter, and joining me today are the co-founders and writers of the Eren Chronicles, as well as their new Zamanora Ballad of the Witch fantasy setting for Legend in the Mist. Joining me today are Nikolas, Totief, and George Sfendourakis. And I will let everyone know here, this is going to be a stream of me probably mispronouncing stuff all the time. So, my good guests, please feel free to correct me at every point I mispronounce something on this stream.
Yeah, no worries about that. It comes with the region. Many Balkan or Slavic names are very confusing. That's why we also have a pronunciation guide in the back of the book. So, people don't feel that they know what they're talking about when they introduce monsters.
That is something I am always excited about in these fantasy settings, is when there's a pronunciation guide. And not only fantasy settings like these, which are based off Balkan and Slavic fables, but also just like fantasy settings in general, even if you make them up whole cloth in your head, because I mispronounce stuff all the time. I learned a lot of my words through reading. So, today, fellow audience, we are going to be talking about Zamanora, a fantasy setting that was created in tandem to be used for the 5.5e rules, as well as for the rustic fantasy rule set created by Son of Oak, Legend in the Mist. For those of you who are joining us from the 5e and 5.5e side of things, Legend in the Mist is a set of rustic fantasy rules which are narrative focused, where you can create all manner of characters that you wish as you go along rustic fantasy journeys and explore a whole new world. So, speaking of whole new worlds, tell me about Zamanora. What's up with it? What's going on?
A very important note is that the name is Zamanora, actually.
We had a whole pre-stream conversation where I was trying to get it right, and I thought I had it. Anyway.
It's okay. But that's also a great way to talk about the name and where it comes from, because Zamanora is actually a word that comes from Greek Romani. It means seasons and also time. And we also have a saying in Greece which is chronia και zamania, which is we haven't met in seasons. And it originates from Zamanora. And we thought that the lifestyle of the Roma people, where they move all the time around, it also mirrors the life of an adventurer, or a wayfarer, as we like to call them in the book.
Okay.
So this Zamanora Ballad of the Witch, as you said, is inspired by Balkan and Slavic folklore. This is folklore that we grew up with, and we basically wanted to highlight the grimness of the stories that reside in these folklores, but also it cohabits with rustic fantasy and also cozy fantasy, because there are spirits, just like in the Japanese folklore with the yokai, there are spirits of bathhouses and spirits that help you around in the house. But there are also spirits that in the night will grab you from your horse and drown you in a swamp. And there are many spirits that do exactly that. So it was a challenge to make them interesting and differentiate them from each other.
I mean, that's great, like, adventurer fantasy, though, because you can't just have the bedtime stories of the gnomes that sneak into your house and fix your shoes for you. Like, you also need the creatures where it's like you're going along a creek and then one of them grabs you and tries to drown you. Because then you have something to, be afraid of when you're adventuring, or something to go outside the village and solve the problem.
Yeah, and it is also a great, when we were designing Zamanora, we decided to not include a map of the region. And that is because stories are oral mostly in Zamanora. they go from generation to generation, and most people do not know what lies beyond the hill, because it's dangerous to go there. Most people that go there never return because of the horrors that exist out there. So exploring Zamanora is a challenge of its own, which is also showcased throughout both books, and that was a deliberate choice to highlight this claustrophobic feeling of venturing through the mists and in the dark, not knowing where the next village may lie.
I mean that fits perfectly with Legend of the Mist. The default, well, rather the first campaign setting for Legend of the Mist, the one created by Son of Oak, the Dales, Hearts of Ravensdale. It is that energy of you live in a country village and you don't really have a great idea of what's past the next mountain range, but what's past the mountain range is coming towards you. So you will have to figure that out. But it's I think it's mentioned in the book itself that Zamanora is a light campaign setting, like LITE. Is that correct?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about this, George?
Yeah. We call it a light setting because it's kind of plug and play. I mean, it's pretty well developed. It has some of its own background, some of its own pillars, fundamentals of how things work, like how faith is made manifest, which is something we should return to. But these are not incredibly rigid because there's a lot of nuance about what the people know and how it affects them. We call it a light setting because you can play it alongside another setting, like for example the Dales, if you explore through the mists too much. But it can also be an entire world on its own.
I really like that.
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about it, but let's show it off. George, can you share your screen?
Yeah. I'm gonna be sharing the core book first, which is, let's say, the player-facing book. It's where our dear spirit guide O takes us through the world of Zamanora by showing what most people know and understand. It's the book most players read in order to learn the basics of Zamanora. The second book, Monsters and Fables, which we could take a look later, is where O shares all the spicy secrets about what's going on behind the shadows of the tree line.
Yeah, and I think that what we really aimed to do is that what the people know and what actually is taking place may be two entirely different things. They may overlap in some areas, but the truth could be completely different from what they expect. And this is showcased in the core book. The people that read the core book will get the information as if they were living in Zamanora, while the people that read Monsters and Fables will learn the truth behind what the people believe.
I really do love that because I've seen RPG products that are like, here's an idea of what might be happening, but you at the table have to figure it out. And I've seen products where it's like, here's what's happening, and we're mixing that with all the information that would normally be player facing. So if you want the players to see this information, you got to figure out how to do that without showing them spoilers. But separating the info, so it's like, here's the stuff that the players know, here's the stuff that's actually going on. I find that, well, just easier to use at the table for sure. But also I find that just like really cool. So we have two books for this setting. We have the core book and we have Monsters and Fables. The core book is the player facing. Monsters and Fables is the GM facing. And those are currently available on the Zamanora backer kit as well as drive-through RPG. Is that correct?
Yep.
So, but specifically, there's bundles on the backer kit that are still available that are not available on DriveThruRPG. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the best way to get the Zamanora books are through BackerKit, because there you can also see bundles. You can also see the plenty of add-ons we have designed for this book, and yeah, they will also be available on drive-thru as well. So it's if you have all of your stuff like a Steam library, if you have all of your stuff in DriveThruRPG, through BackerKit, we will also make them redeemable on DriveThruRPG, so you don't lose that. So the best way is to get them on BackerKit.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So, so how did the collaboration happen here? How was it while you're creating this setting? You're like, hey, let's create this setting in tandem, not only with the 5.5e rules, but also with Legend in the Mist.
Honestly, I can't think of a way it could not happen. I mean, Legend in the Mist, when we first saw it, we knew that it was the proper way to explore Zamanora. There's a lot of nuance in telling a story through tags and especially through challenges that feels at home in this book. We wanted to write tales of rustic fantasy, so we needed to do it through Legend in the Mist. It was both an inspiration because we came across it while we were figuring out our next steps, and it's also become the perfect way to explore this world.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I mean, it certainly fits with the aesthetic. Can you scroll over to the chapter 1 art?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, like leaves falling off of trees, small adventurers in a huge world, that mix of darkness and light, like that totally fits with the Legend of the Mist aesthetic. And so this wasn't like a product that you were originally making in 5e, and then we're like, hey, let's port this Legend of Mist. It was developed in tandem with those two rule sets. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. When we were discussing which project to follow next, actually there are two people that wrote this book with us that are not here on the stream today. It's Andreas Morelatos and Nikos Ostas, which are the other two main writers of the book. Andreas mentioned making something out of Balkan and Slavic folklore because we were very familiar with it through our life experiences, and we felt that something wasn't clicking, wasn't that exciting, maybe. And when George mentioned Legend in the Mist and how we could explore some sort of collaboration there, and it really started fitting together, and we started seeing how the Legend in the Mist system could serve the storytelling in Zamanora. So maybe George has a more specific input on what first made him propose Legend in the Mist or something like that.
Honestly, it's because it perfectly embodies rustic fantasy. The tales told in Zamanora are not about defeating a great evil and saving the world. They are deeply personal tales about, and the grimness, the horror comes from just discovering something that is unknown. It's both connection with the world and nature and molding it in order to survive, but also the seclusion that comes with everything this life entails.
I love that. No, that, like I said, that fits with the mission statement, and this is already another world that I'm like super excited to explore. So let's delve into it a bit on this stream. What are some exciting corners of Zamanora that you're wanting to show off?
I don't know where to start, but people are always excited about species, so why not explore some of the other species that
Oh,
live in
that's
Zamanora?
cool. Okay, tell me this person's
See,
whole deal because I need to know.
yeah. So Zamanora is a world where the world of spirits, the hidden world, and the world of mortals, let's say, the real, interlap quite intimately, overlap. So that means that people often brush against spirits and a lingering essence remains between them. One such type of spirit that tends to live like a more mortal life are the villas, which are kissed by the gifts of the deity of life, Namira, the deity of waters, because a lot of in Balkan folklore, water and life go hand in hand with the rivers and everything. So you might say they're akin to Fae, as most people understand them, but that doesn't really encapsulate the whole deal that's a spirit. Um,
Yeah, it's also closer
Nikola.
to. Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, it's also closer to nymphs and nereides, we call them in Greek, which are brutal in their nature but also elegant in their appearance. For example, the villa here has the ability to strangle someone with her hair. And they also tend to inspire other people to join their dance and dance until they can no longer take it and maybe die from exhaustion. So they have a beautiful, gentle appearance and also nature that can also be brutal.
So they're sort of siren-like,
Once you,
where they have that aquatic nature, they have that
Yeah,
beauty
kind
that
of.
can draw people in, but there's also a deadly edge to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that. And
that's
so,
actually
oh, sorry to interrupt.
that's one. I think in this spread we can see one of the reasons why we love having the book as both 5e and Legend of the Mist. I mean, you can read a lot of the mechanics and the traits and how they use all that, but the whole ordeal to role play a villain is written right here in the theme kit.
Hmm.
So you can really complement each other despite the version you're really using. Especially when it comes to 5e, there's a lot of inspiration about how to play all these mechanics as part of your life. And
Now, for those of you
now,
who are unaware of the general Legend in the Mist rule set, characters are made up of 4 separate themes, which you fill out with tags, weakness tags, quests. They are the most important parts of your character that you use throughout your journeys. And so when you're creating these different origins and species, I see you have the 5.5e, creature type, size, speed, abilities, natural spellcasting, and all that. And then in Legend of the Mist, that translates to the theme kit that we're seeing here, the people theme, where your first tag is Vila. You choose the remaining tags underneath. You choose one of the 4 weakness tags, and then you have the identifying quest. We are the song of rivers and the dance of leaves, free until the world itself stills. And so if you're playing a Vila and you are going with that quest, that is something that throughout your journey you are checking in on, seeing if you are still embodying that ideal. And if you are, you gain experience on that theme. But if you aren't, you start gaining abandon on that theme, and perhaps your character changes into something else. Perhaps, they still stay biologically a Vila, but perhaps what makes them importantly Vila, what ties them to their culture, perhaps that becomes less important to them. As is another big thing with Legend of the Mist, is your character has so much emphasis on evolving and changing and becoming a different person as they go through their grand quests, as people probably should if they're going on a grand journey.
Mhm.
So I'm going to check out the chat real quick because there's a lot of really cool responses. But what's another cool species that you guys want to show off?
I think we should definitely show the hunt as something
Ooh.
that's entirely different from a race. Hunts are incorporeal entities that survive by living inside vessels, so that you can both play the incorporeal nature, that is your soul, and play around with trying to create your own unique vessel and living through that. It's much more of a spirit in essence. Nikolas was actually the one who brought these to life, if you want to share all the cool things about them.
Yeah, it's actually a species that's very close to heart. And I think that the coolest thing for me about haunts is that they are craftsmen and craftswomen at heart because they need to create their own vessels. And it also talks about forging your own identity, which is a very big deal throughout humanity. And another very important thing about them is that they are at some point manifested, and they do not know if the memories that they possess, sometimes they have amnesia, sometimes they have memories, and they do not know if the memories that they possess are their own or if they were imposed to them by the belief of other people. For example, a haunt may be the departed soul of a bogatir, a protector of the people, and they may have memories of their previous life. But a haunt may also be manifested by the stories people say about someone living in the woods and being dangerous. So a soul manifests through this belief and through these rumors, but this person never existed. But they have memories of their life because of the stories being told. So a big part of being a haunt is also searching for your true identity, which is, did you exist? Are you just a figment of imagination taking form? And I really like how it introduces such big drama through the species for the players.
It looks like we also have someone in the chat who played a haunt in their campaign from Sophia Maria 1296. I play a haunt in our Zamanora campaign. I have lost my body 3 times. Literally, I had to roll 20s to construct a new body for each body parts. Love that.
Yeah, it was the latest, yeah.
Andreas Morilatos says haunts, or Slavic Pinocchios, if you will.
Yeah. Andreas was also a member of the co-writing team of Zamanora.
I also see MC Maya, who ran a Zamanora one-shot last year, is in the chat. Hi there, Maya. Maya also does some shorts for the Son of Oak YouTube channel. And also, while I'm talking about the channel, we do weekly streams just like these where we talk about Legend in the Mist and Son of Oak games. If you want to be notified when our streams go live, please feel free to subscribe to our channel. If you want to help us out, please feel free to like this video or leave a comment when we're done. If you want to see some of Maya's videos, as well as videos by other creators, including yours truly, check out the channel itself. Sorry about that, boys. I just had to do a quick plug there.
It's okay. Yeah, do you want to move on to maybe some of the subclasses?
Please do. I'm
introduced.
Yeah, so you have
Yes.
different subclasses in the Dungeon Dragons Persuasion, but each of those subclasses has their own theme kits as well.
Yeah. As we
This is Legend in the
say a
Mist.
lot
This is
about the
very
book,
Legend in the Mist.
Yeah.
it's not so much about who you are as much as what you do. I mean, people in Zamanora are very practical. So we tried to incorporate every single special gift you see in the mythology, in Balkan and Slavic mythology. Yeah, a druid is a great example. But I think if we were to focus on one, we should probably focus on the Warlock of the Old Crone, which is actually it was created. It was our community built. So we ran as our final stretch goal in the Kickstarter. We run quite a few polls in order to get some ideas about what people are excited and create a subclass or theme kit together with them. Honestly, there were quite a lot of great ideas, but in a world such as this, how can you not go with the warlock dedicated to the dreaded Baba Yaga?
You gotta have Baba Yaga in a setting like this. And so the warlock of Baba Yaga, that was a community stretch goal. Like the community during the original Kickstarter campaign for this setting helped like drive the idea toward this subclass. Is that correct?
Yeah. As George mentioned, we had a poll for which we need to focus some of these questions more on the D&D side, because these questions are the D&D side needs more specifics. But the people decided which class we were going to be making a subclass from, which subclass we were going to be making, what kind of, and throughout all these we had some great ideas for little theme kits, Legend of the Mist theme kits, or Legend of the Mist tags. And at the end we bundled up all of these. We ended up with the old crone warlock, which is, as we mentioned, is with dedicated to Baba Yaga or another such powerful primordial creature if she does not exist in your own setting. We refined the ideas around here, the features of this theme kit and subclass, and we ended up with what you see now on the screen.
I love that. So we've got, so you can cast the evil eye, you got rituals and secrets, you can read others' thoughts, there's a bevy of powers available to you as long as you see the crone's design completed. I've played Dungeons & Dragons, of course, and Warlock has always been one of my favorite classes, even as a Forever GM, because when a player does the Warlock, that is an immediate narrative hook I can take. There is a character in that PC's backstory that can be like, hey, so I need you to do this thing, and that's why you're doing the quest that the GM set up. So I'm glad that concept can also carry over to Legend of the Mist.
As you close your eyes to sleep. So
we're getting some questions about the backer kit again. Can you kind of go into the smaller details of shopping for Zamanora through backer kit? As you go to the store page, it's still says pre-order. What's like the steps people can take to get their hands on these great books?
Honestly, just pick out whatever feels interesting or looks interesting, enter the details for shipping, etc. Actually, since today is the launch of version 1.0 of the books, they're going to be hitting the press pretty soon. Hopefully, shipping will be done around late August. And once you filled everything in, well, that's where we confirm the order and get you your books and everything else sorted.
Phenomenal. So version 1 is releasing today.
Yeah, exactly. And while there are different pledges depending on how much you would like to invest in the campaign and in the project, but we think that one of the best ways to basically get a little bit of everything is the slipcase, which also won't be available through retail. So maybe that's a good idea to get both Monsters and Fables and the core book, a GM screen, and some other details.
Yeah, the slipcase will definitely not be available at that price later. Those are our Kickstarter prices. when we still thought we were making 400 pages of content. Now we know it's a bit over 700. So we do have to increase the prices in order to stay afloat.
Well,
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke about the. Yeah, sorry.
Well, let's talk about what more of what's in the setting. Then I'm seeing right now on the screen we've got two different schools of magic here. Now, one of the things I love about Legend of the Mist is that because you can use the rules to create all these different forms and schools of magic and all these different ways that they can work. So, what's going on here with the soul tethering wizard, and on the left there another pronunciation thing, Onoromancer?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay. I did it. I got good points in pronouncing things.
Yes, the Onoromancer is basically interpreting their own dreams, and also at some point later they can interpret the dreams of others. Slavic and Balkan people gave a lot of importance to the dreams and the dream world. And you can also access the said dream realm, summon nightmares for other people to see. And I think that about the Soul Tether, George would be the best to speak about, because I think he was the idea originates from him.
I think instead of talking about the Soul Tether, it might be a better idea to talk about some new ways of magic, because Legend of the Mist has a lot of interesting ways in which magic works, so we did want to play around a bit with that and move on to making ceremonies, curses, and a few more stuff in our secondary book.
Let's get into ceremonies. I love the art. I think it's the page before this has the art with like the figure underneath the statue. What am I thinking of?
One.
That's it. Okay, so I saw
dragon scarecrow.
The scarecrow. That's it. So what's going on here?
So basically, what is depicted is a scarecrow for Balor. Balor are basically the dragons of our setting. They are pretty close to the dragons as we know them. They live in caves. They're ancient beings that predate Zamanora, actually. And throughout the book, throughout this chapter, you can see various ceremonies that people conduct and may have some magical effects around them. These are available to non-spellcasters. So these are available to common people. Things like warding away spirits where people dance, or things like where people dance dressed as demons and monsters, so that the actual demons and monsters think that, okay, this is the territory of another, I cannot go close to there. And there are other, a very homely ceremony is Fanouris pie or Fanouropita, which is baking an actual pie and sharing it with your community. You do that when you have misplaced an item of great importance. And then, as you go about your day, you will see breadcrumbs, which will lead you back to the item that you lost. So this comes from, I think it's mostly a Greek tradition. We bake a Fanouropita when we lose something so that we can find it.
See, I love this because... Oh, sorry, George.
No, I just wanted to add that we actually include a recipe in order to bake your own Fanouropita.
Yeah.
So is this? Hang on. So this is actually very important. Is this a recipe to create it in the game, or a recipe to create it in real life?
In real life.
That
it is an actual tradition. So of course you need to be able to make it in real life.
No, that's great, because here's the thing. So Legend of the Mist has cooking rules, and they're more prominent in the Hearts of Ravensdale setting book. But we do have to put a disclaimer. these are recipes for the game. Don't try these recipes with just these 3 ingredients at home. So the fact that you have a recipe that not only can you use in the game, but also a recipe that people can make in real life, that's phenomenal.
Yep.
So another interesting way of magic we did try to play around were the curses. We talk a lot about faith manifesting in various ways and affecting the life around people, but what stronger emotions are there than those that would manifest into a curse?
Very spooky art.
I think the curse most people were interested in was, this is the one. Was vampirism.
So there are rules for contracting vampirism within this setting.
Yeah, I mean you've got to have vampires in this mythology, and
you gotta have vampires.
It ended up being very interesting to create for Legend of the Mist because we opted to make it as a challenge that you carry with you, and its threats and consequences occur every couple of days in the case of vampirism, and you can have that own personal journey follow you along with the story that you're running.
Yeah, and it also plays with the transformative nature which you mentioned before, because the villa may not stop being a villa, they may veer away from their way of life, but when you go down the theme kit of a vampire, then you actually physically change. And that's a great way that Legend of the Mist handles both the physical transformation of someone and their internal journey transformation.
Well, I like how you represent it not only with a theme kit, which if you want to make a vampire from the jump, you just take the theme kit and fill out the theme for that part of your character, but you also have vampirism as a challenge. So once again, for those who are unfamiliar with the rules of Legend of the Mist, challenges are essentially stat blocks for obstacles in your path, but not only for monsters, but also events or social challenges or, physical obstacles in your way, like a rock slide could have its own challenge profile. So with this right here, vampirism being represented as a challenge, this is something that is affecting you. This is something that you fight against. And if you do not lift it in time, because I'm seeing that there's 2 limits here. There's lifting the vampirism versus letting it take root. And if you do not do the lift limit before the take root limit, then you become a vampire. And I love the mechanically representing it like that. Like, it's not just the vampires have stat blocks. The process of becoming a vampire has its stat block, a challenge that you fight against if you wish. And we got it for werewolves too.
Yeah, the politically correct term for us is therianthropy. Most people do know it as lycanthropy, but lycan is a wolf. Therianthropy is a beast. It's Therio versus Lycan. So we opted to call it therianthropy, but most people do know it as lycanthropy.
Okay.
And it is the same vein as... go ahead, George, sorry.
No, I think you described the therianthropes pretty well. I was just checking the time that we have, and I'm very eager to jump into the second book. Because, the core book really is the bare bones. In the Monsters and Fables, you get into the meat of the setting.
Let's jump into Monsters and Fables then. Okay,
Yeah.
so what's going on with this cover before we delve into the book itself?
Yeah, this is a birch tree that is actually a tree weird from the bestiary, and a poor woman has stumbled upon it and is succumbing to... Yeah, she went too far away from the village.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the tree weird that was talking about.
Yeah, I hope the threats and consequences here represent exactly what happened to the poor woman.
Yeah. So basically,
zoom in
Moses
on
and
that.
Fables. Yeah. Basically, Moses and Fables, as we mentioned, is mostly for the GM because while it does include a lot of the actual lore, as we discussed before, it also includes uh, monsters, the bestiary, which is what you may find when you venture away into the darkness, or beyond the hearthlight, as we like to call it, and also Fables, which is the adventure locales. These are villages scattered throughout Zamanora. We have created where every other part of both books coalesces here. These villages are inspired by actual folklores and they combine different subclasses found throughout the book, different monsters, different ways of magic. The stories that you can tell here, you can meet various people, you can see the place of interest of each of these villages, and the stories you can say here are. There are many stories that you can spend many sessions in a single village, following various different plot hooks that we have scattered throughout each entry, or even follow more streamlined fables. Not streamlined in terms of how they end up, but a bit more a story that's more guided by us, the writers. The steps are outlined. We opted to go this way because we didn't want to include many details that make new GMs feel that it's hard to read these stories and then play them, because if I forget something, maybe something does not work. No, the idea here is more sandboxy, and every time that I've heard people talk about their experience inside a specific village, they had vastly different experiences, even if they played the same fable, even if they played in the same village.
Well, I think that just kind of goes to show what the imagery of these villages leads to so much inspiration for people to craft their own quests and their own ideas of what this village looks like. I'm seeing in the chat from Digging Source, Rick Digging 928, this village art is insane, and from Otter Poet, this art is so fun. So we've got people shouting in the chat just how much they appreciate this art just as much as I do. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this. First off, Witcher 3 music is already playing in my head, like as I'm looking at all the details here. But once again, it's that mixture of light and shadows. It's small people in a big world. Like, you look at this and it's just art that, like, it hits all the senses as you look at it, and I love that.
Yeah, it's important to say here and give a quick shout out to Sina Basnia, which is the illustrator behind most of the main illustrations of villages. And yeah, as you mentioned, there are also many different villages. For example, here you can see Staramur, which is kind of unique in Zamanora because the village is built in the ruins of an old castle. Castles no longer exist in Zamanora. They belong in what we like to say, the old world. What you could consider Faerun to be is the old world. Somehow the old world was destroyed and Zamanora is built upon its ruins. And Staramur was built around a castle. Sorry, not a castle, but around the stone wall that still remains. They rebuilt it and they live inside. And there are various other unique villages throughout Zamanora. For example, one of my favorite ones is Arun's Watch, which is based in oh my god, I forgot in Meteora. Yeah. These are. You can also Google it in real life. Meteora is a very specific rock formation that is very similar to this image, and on top of them, monasteries are built. And in this village, the people have lived up in this mountain for generations, and they believe that the world below has ended because it's the world below as well. It's kind of like the underworld. And when players first arrive there, people think that they are ghosts because they haven't seen outside. They rarely see outsiders. And there are other many villages, like for example, Albor Glen, which is a more a haven for in terms of resources, and but the people have started to forget the old ways and they anger the spirits. And I can talk about this village for hours, so I don't want to take up the rest of the time.
Well, speaking of time, actually, so I really want to continue going down this journey throughout this setting. But audience, real quick, if you have any questions about this world, feel free to throw them in the chat. This is the perfect time to get some questions answered about what lurks within this world. So while we're waiting on the questions coming to the chat, tell me about this. I want to know about this.
Okay, so this is part of... George, do you want to say it, or...?
Well, that's a fable you wrote, so be my guest.
Okay,
After that, I do have to take Kevin to our own Witcher affiliation system, because he did say that he starts hearing Witcher music, so we gotta have that.
We should
we gotta talk about that. We gotta talk about that.
So yeah, this is a story, as I mentioned before, in Albor Glen. It is a village that is blessed in every way with bountiful harvest. Sorry, not bountiful. Bountiful fishing. It has fish. It has mines that they can harvest. No, they can mine. I missed my English there. They have a huge woods around them which they can get lumber from. But the people have slowly, because they have enjoyed these blessings for so long, they have started to stop respecting the old ways and stop offering the proper tithe to the spirits of the forest. So as the blessings begin to fade away, turmoil happens in the village, and someone who wants to take power in their own hands escalates this turmoil by defacing one of the idols that was given for the Lesnik, that was meant to depict the Lesnik, and this makes the spirit forest, the Lesnik, angry, and begins a siege to Albor Glen, basically cutting them out from all these blessings that they had. Their orchards start getting corrupted, their fish stop giving, their rivers stop giving them fish, and stuff like that. And the players need to discover what is going on, because this person sabotaged the village in order to prove that the current leader is weak and frail, and take their place, and knowing what exactly goes on, to reinstate balance and take leadership and be hailed as a hero that saved the village. But the Lesnik may not be so forgiving with this transgression. It all depends on what the players do and how the story evolves.
Yeah, that's usually how it works. So, all right, we got a few questions in the chat, but real quick, tell me about the Witcher affiliation system.
Well, we did want to add some new content to those who enjoy Legend and Mist, so we have added a couple of systems, such as a bit of a different exploration, stuff like that. One thing they might enjoy is the affiliation system, about how you join a guild and climb its ranks, and what you gain out of it, what benefits you might enjoy. Now, my personal favorite one of these guilds would be the Kersnik Watch, or the Silversmiths, those who hunt in the night so everyone else can be safe. The ones who face all the horrors out there, and the people do not need to even know what lurks in the hidden world.
So just like an immediate hook for an entire campaign. Like you could create a fellowship theme out of this alone, and just you're a party of people in the Kersnik Watch. Your whole deal is dealing with what goes bump in the night. I can write 5 quests for that off the top of my head right now. I love that.
Yeah, and we also have ready-to-play quest, the tidings.
Oh, there we
What's
go.
important in this guild? Just go grab one of these important things and run with it.
Perfect. That's a forever GM. Love that. Every bit of help.
Yeah, I think a big aim throughout the book is throwing seeds for the DM to cultivate on their own. We throw you these organizations which you can base a whole campaign off of. We throw you these adventure locales which you can spend whole sessions in exploring them and meeting their people and stuff like that. You can play with try to find various places of power, which are magical places that contain power, for lack of a better term, and are also very dangerous and also very hidden. Most of them are probably myths, but maybe someone who is dedicated enough can find them. As George is showing one of these places of powers, the Harrogate.
Again, great art. Love that. So,
You may also try to find one of the main, let's say, more famous figures that are in the book.
Yeah.
That is an incredibly cool depiction. So, I'm noticing she doesn't have a face.
Yep. We really thought that this depiction was evocative and something fresh. And maybe this is a nice place to talk about witches in Zamanora, because while in Zamanora there are no specific occupations that are tied to a specific gender. So witches are both can both be men and women, and we wanted to keep witches as grim creatures, which is basically at the beating heart of this folklore, both the Slavic and the Balkan. But we also wanted to do justice by them, because in reality these women were hunted and burned alive for reasons that have to do with feudalism and with the rise of capital and of course patriarchy. But we believe that making these women, not just women, but the witches, strong, dangerous, but also beings with their own agency and with their own wants and needs, it was very important. We also made some part of the research that we did was Silvia Federici's Caliban and the Witch, which some people may know in the audience, and she has a very great way of framing these issues.
Very cool. So, we only got a little bit of time left. Do you mind if I throw some questions your way?
Yeah, sure.
So this is a big one actually from Coratora YT. What were some of the challenges converting to the Legend and the Myth system, or were there any? So this was created in tandem with like while you were creating this for the 5.5e rules as well as Legend and the Myth at the same time. So what were some unique challenges that came up as a part of that process?
I think a challenge for me, because I actually did most of the challenges in the book, it was trying to stop thinking like a monster is hit it until it dies. And the amount of pathways that it unlocks when you start considering, because we always try to make a monster not be a simple hit point sponge. But the amount of pathways that it unlocks, not only in terms of an encounter, because many encounters in Legend the Mist do not have to do with killing each other or fighting each other. Many encounters have surviving the boring monologues of the Vodnik, or making sure that you don't make Baba Yaga mad. Yeah, so I think that was a big challenge for me, but it made me so excited to write even more challenges for Legend the Mist. George, you have a specific in mind, yeah?
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. The hardest part about making the book in both versions was making the book twice. Because you can't really honestly convert from one to the other. Each describes a different part of the fantasy. That's what makes this book unique in my eyes. You can see both of them completing a more perfect image. Uh, for example, in many of the theme kits, when in 5e you have more mechanical stuff. For the villa, you might have how the animated hair works when playing Legend in the Mist. Knowing these mechanics might actually give you ideas about how to use your animated hair tag. At the same time, the lore piece is not usually enough for a 5e player. Knowing they have chorus sisters as a tag really makes you flesh out that side of the race, of the species in your game.
I really do like that. The discovery of looking at both rule sets at the same time and letting them inform each other. One of the things I love with the theme kits is that, like, you know, you're not going to choose all of the options. The point is that you only choose some of the tags. But having those options listed there informs you about the world that the theme kit came from. And with, like, the rule sets are also accomplishing different things. 5e is a very combat focused rule set, so a lot of these stat blocks are focused on combat. A lot of the abilities are focused on different options in combat. Yes, there are, you know, stuff for role-play and exploration, but the focus is on that. But one of the things I love with Legend of the Mist is that with the challenge profiles, and especially with the limit system, it's not like your HP and your AC are not your most important stats. It's not about driving their HP down to zero. It's figuring out different ways that you can deal with this challenge, whether that is beating them to a pulp or negotiating with them or feeding the giant that's guarding the bridge so that way he falls asleep and then you can walk right past him. It's that narrative freedom that comes with the rule set that I very much enjoy, and it's really cool to see that that was an influence in the design process of this. So, one last question, and then we'll have to wrap it up. From Diggin Source Rick Diggy 928. Considering you were so involved in the creation of the setting, if you had to play a long-term campaign, what would you want your character abilities to be? Like spitball, you playing a Zamanora campaign. What's the character that you go out into your own world with?
First, I'd say I'd choose one of the epic origins, which are backgrounds, let's say, with a quest baked into them. For example, the Cron's progeny is the Cron's progeny, a homunculus created by her. So you have a lot of leeway to create a story around that. And then, to make things interesting, how about making the Cron's progeny a witch knight? So,
Love it.
Having a bit of a rebellious phase.
Angsty teen years.
That's so you have a witch knight who is the progeny of a witch and just kind of has to deal with very awkward family reunions.
Yeah. For me, maybe it would be, I really liked the Warlock of the Old Crone, as we mentioned. I'd maybe tie it in with a Caliban. The Caliban is and again, we kind of speak around the same theme, but it just happened. The Caliban is the child of a witch or the child of a spirit that is humanoid. And they have the ability to shapeshift and change their appearance. So I think that these would go very well in hand.
You know, it's very fun. We had a stream a few weeks ago where we were building Legend of the Mist characters with the audience, and a witch knight was one of the characters that was made. Like, specifically a knight that used hexes to fight dishonorably. Like, oh, I got a duel with this person tomorrow. I'm going to sneak into their room tonight and cast a curse on them kind of thing. And it's really interesting to see, independent of that whole thing, Witch Knight is is a pathway many people can take because it's objectively cool, because it's an awesome idea. So I love that. Unfortunately, though, we are out of time as we are at the top of the hour. So let me get into my ending spiel here. First off, thank you both for joining me on this stream, because this is one of my favorite things to do, is just go onto these streams with the people who create these amazing worlds and just let them guide me through this amazing world. Look at all the cool art, look at all the cool mechanics, and it's just an incredibly fun thing to do. I am having a hard time focusing on my spiel with that cool art of the Skycaller Paladin there with the lightning sword. It's actively distracting me because it's so awesome. So, anyway, audience, thank you for joining us today. This has been a stream about the setting that I have been continually mispronouncing throughout the stream. One more time, do I get it right? Zamanora? Say it for me. Say it for me while I'm putting the link in the chat.
Yeah. The name is Zamanora, Ballad of the Wits. And if I could very quickly sneak in a couple of shout-outs, I would very like to shout out the dark music composer which made the intro song that you heard when you first joined the stream, Kavalsviri, and the rest of the Zamanora original soundtrack. Also Tony Sart and Sergei Tsvelik, which were two of our main artists throughout the book. Tony Sart for Monsters and Fables and Sergei Tsvelik for core book and some of Monsters and Fables. Just very quickly.
Please. No, we love giving the shout outs to the people that create all of this amazing stuff out here on these streams. A few more shout outs on my end, by the way. So, Legend in the Mist, if you're interested in playing it, if you haven't already picked up the books, check it out at sonofoak.com. I'm throwing these links into the chat. These links will also be in the video description. If you want to join a cool community of people to talk about this cool setting, you can check out the Eren Chronicles Discord. If you want to join another cool community of people to talk about Legend in the Mist and maybe find out about some other games that Son of Oak has as well, like City of Mist and Otherscape, if you want to get in some noir mystery or mythical cyberpunk, you can check that out as well on the Son of Oak Discord. If you want to hear about more streams that we have going on, subscribe to the Son of Oak channel. You can check out our previous streams where we talk about other fantasy settings for Legend in the Mist, like Beyond the Woods, which is based in Irish mythology. We also have streams of all cool things Legend in the Mist. Our next week's stream, actually, and this is, before we've officially announced it, we are going to be going into some of the challenges that you can find on the village level within the Dales campaign setting of Legend in the Mist. So it's going to be a real fun time. Hopefully you join us for that too. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. One more time, folks, thank you so much for joining us today on this stream. And George, Nikolas, thank you for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And also a huge shout out to the Son of Oak team. Without them, Zamanora would not be what it is today. And we really love your audience, your games, your ideas, all that.
Like I'm saying. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you all. No. Thank you all for playing these games. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for giving us an excuse to geek out about these really cool, awesome games that we love. And until we see you again,